Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am thrilled to be kicking off today's webinar. In this session, Mariano Tan, CEO and founder of Prasadica, will be interviewing Aaron Turnbull, Vice President of IT at Sync3. In their sit-down conversation, Aaron will discuss his story of how Sync3 Restaurant Solutions has revolutionized their operations with Prasadica. Aaron will discuss the pivotal moments that reshaped his team's strategies and his vision for the future of AI-powered customer service. And here at CCW, we are nearing the end of 2024 and entering 2025 with strategies to really redefine how we deliver support. And with interaction analytics, Sync3 has really been able to do that. So I am very excited to hand things over to Aaron and Mariano to share more.
Hi, I'm Mariano Tan, the CEO and founder of Prasadica, and I'm here today with a special guest, Aaron Turnbull, one of our longest standing clients. Aaron Turnbull is the VP of IT for Sync3 Restaurant Solutions. All right, hi Aaron. I'm so pleased to have you here in Colorado Springs, and let's look forward to having a good discussion. First, let's start by having you introduce yourself and your role at Sync3.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm Aaron Turnbull, Vice President of IT for Sync3. We are a AI-focused company that services the restaurant industry. We help our partners process more orders more accurately and provide a better guest experience. And excited to be here for the conversation today.
I'm excited too. So, you're a longtime customer of Prasadica. How many years have we been working together?
Gosh, I think 2025, I think will be our 10th year together.
Oh, what? 10 years. All right, so some of this is going to have to put us in the Wayback Machine, but before you started working with us, what was the big problem that was kind of keeping you awake at night?
You know, some of the big challenges that we ran into, particularly around quality assurance with our call center agents, was we had such a small sample size. Like many call centers out there, we had a team of QA analysts that were randomly pulling 6 calls per specialist per month, while the specialists are taking several hundred to several thousand interactions. So it really made us wonder, are we really doing right by our customers? Are we doing right by our internal teams? Is this a fair way to do quality assurance? We didn't really have a better way to do it. So we were trying to find something that could help us to increase the sample size without causing us to triple, quadruple our human capital on our quality assurance team.
For sure. And is there a particular moment that you can recall that made this really present, like really crystallized the problem in your mind?
Yeah. So a little bit of a funny story. We had one of our agents in particular had perfect quality scores every single month. He was meeting all of his metrics. He was checking all the boxes. And then one day we got a customer complaint that he had done or said something that really upset this customer. And we found that particular call. And what we found on that call was that he didn't realize that the call recording and connection had started at the time that it did. And so as the call came in, he is going, "Oh my God, why are there so many calls in queue right now? I can't believe this. Thank you for calling. How can I help you today?" And we took that as one specific example and just listened to 50, 60 of his calls throughout the course of that day. And we found it probably a dozen times. And it's something that, just never would randomly get caught by our manual process. But it really, really showed us that we weren't getting enough. We weren't getting the whole picture. And we needed something to solve that problem for us.
So to be clear, the guest experience wasn't impacted. He stopped his rant before the guest was on the phone.
He stopped his rant before he thought the guest was on the phone. The guest was absolutely on the phone, which is what brought that to our attention.
I see. And then, so the aha moment that lets you know that speech analytics technology, or Prosodic in particular, could actually help you solve the problem.
So with all that, the guests, in each of these cases, the guests were clearly upset by this, when you could tell by the tone of their voice. Mm-hmm. And having a tool that would allow us to have a greater sample size of guest sentiment would have helped us find that type of problem a lot more quickly.
Excellent. And that the sentiment that we're listening for over here is something that's not just the guest overtly complaining about something. It could be their tone of voice. It could be just a level of discomfort that they hear in their voice.
Exactly. You know, we found we were ultimately alerted to that problem by a guest who finally complained, and that helped us discover that it was an issue. But in each of the examples that we had heard, you could tell that there was a bit of distress, discomfort, unhappiness in the guest's tone of voice as they were placing their order. You know, I can only imagine hearing my phone call being answered and having somebody yell at me about so many people calling in at the same time.
Because this is it's always been a bit of a mystery to me. Like, Sync 3 is very innovative and very progressive in your use of technology. And so we wouldn't have immediately thought of you as a target prospect because of all the things you already knew how to do. But some of the things that we do at Prosodica were actually interesting to you. In particular, it sounds like our ability to measure the experience, like the agents or the specialists experience separately from the guest experience, and the ability to be able to understand the tonal characteristics of the guest experience, not just the guest actually complaining, but sensing that their discomfort, right?
Yeah, having the ability to get data-driven metrics around the guest overall experience is something that's been really helpful for us. Honestly, it's not even something that we really knew that we needed before we met the Prosodica team and were able to start gathering all that information. I can think back to when we first started working together. We had a new customer that we were onboarding as well, and we collectively worked on a reporting packet that allowed us to see some really specific metrics that showed us that the more engaged that a guest was on a call, the higher their check spend was on that same call. And so we were able to take those types of data points and really use our operations team to coach up, providing a more enriched and engaged conversation with every guest that ultimately allowed us to drive sales for our customers. It's not something that we would have really found on our own without the help of your team to help us take data points that we wouldn't have even thought of as correlated and prove that there's something there.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. I think operations, in my experience, always do the best they can with the data that they have. But it's sort of like, there's an old story of a guy that is found outside of a bar in the dark, and he's underneath a street lamp searching for his car keys, and people walk by and they're like, "What's going on?" And he's like, I lost my car keys." So they get on the ground, they start searching for the car keys, and they're like, after a couple of minutes, nobody can find these car keys. So they ask, "Well, where did you drop these?" And he's like, "Oh, somewhere over there." And they say, "Well, why the heck are you searching here?" And he goes, "Well, because this is where the light is." Right? And that's how we are with our data. We want to be able to broaden that light. We want to cast a brighter light so that we can start to manage on different principles. Yeah. So that would be, so really getting more dimensionality around your guest experience data would be the first piece of data or insight that made you think that you could start changing the business.
Absolutely.
What would be the most unexpected way that you think Prasadica changed the way your team approaches their work?
One of the things that was really unexpected for us was once we really started to dig into all the data points, we were able to work with the Prasadica team to develop a new metric. It was new to us that we called a specialist achievement score. And using that metric, it really allowed us to look at just a much more broad criteria of success rather than looking at a single point in time that happened at some point in the past month. I mean, this was data that we're getting in near real time that allows us to really focus on, for lack of a better term, the bottom tier of our call center staff. And it really gave us the ability to refocus who we were coaching, when we were coaching them. Your top performers, obviously you want to keep them engaged, but you don't need to meet with them every other day, while your bottom performers can certainly benefit from more one-on-one interaction. But having that data point available to us as quickly as we have it has really allowed us to transform the way that we coach our agents and measure their success overall.
And we've been at this for a while, so we sort of take a lot of this for granted, but the Specialist Achievement Score is incorporating elements of behavioral data. So it's thinking about how responsive somebody is to a question when asked. It's thinking about how they manage the handle time of the call, how assertive they sound, how interested they sound in the conversation. And I think what's interesting about that is that the achievement score then becomes coachable. So it's measuring attributes that the specialist can actually control. What I think can be challenging is a lot of quality assurance paradigms are looking at things that are procedural. They're not technically under the agent's control. Like, you did offer them a discount, you didn't offer them a discount. That's not really under your control. That's a procedure. But you talked to them with enthusiasm. You had a sort of an audible smile. You were empathetic. These are things that you can control. And coaching those, I think, yields really interesting outcomes.
It does, and that's a really good point. I mean, our quality assurance form historically was a spreadsheet where you had 10 items listed, and you either did it or you didn't. And one of the items on there, of course, is did you provide a good guest experience? But that was something that was really up to interpretation by the QA analyst on any particular day. And with the Specialist Achievement Score, being able to look at all those combined metrics on a much greater sample set, when we're looking at dozens of calls per day rather than 6 calls per month, it also really helps us to uncover what's actually going on and what's actually happening. It takes away the narrative of Aaron was just having a bad day that day, and it's not fair for you to judge his entire month against the bad day that he had. That's no longer an argument in our world.
So that sort of leads us to this idea. So you're going from a system where you're measuring an agent's productivity on a very small number of samples of behavioral data. We'll call those the QA data, plus objective data, like how many calls are you handling, how much are you actually selling. But now you have data for every call that's both behavioral and sort of outcome oriented. So tell me something about the transformation process. Like, what was the hardest part of switching that paradigm from a little bit of objective data and even less behavioral data to a lot of all of these data?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that we had is, the same thing you have anytime you adopt new technology is there's a lot of people who don't want to change from the way we've always done it. People are scared of technology. They're scared that, it's not just a tool to help them in their job. People sometimes see it as a tool that's going to ultimately replace them. And getting our team to understand that this is going to allow us to refocus and provide better service for our customers, provide better service to our internal customers as well, was a challenge for us. We got met with some resistance early on. We had people that wanted to spend a little bit of time trying to find examples that they could pull up and say, see, the AI was wrong on this one. And we spent a lot of time on calibration sessions where we'd have our QA team score a call and then compare it to what we would get back with our specialist achievement score and engagement score and experience scores on the same calls. And ultimately we took a major grassroots approach to it and just started from the ground up with our agent team and with our QA and operations support teams to get their buy-in. And ultimately what it took for us is to make sure that everybody knew that with a greater sample size, it's more fair, if you will. And we're now getting more specific data that's going to allow us to help you to improve certain behaviors on calls overall and give you a better chance to exceed your performance metrics, to get your bonus. And ultimately it took us a little bit of time, but everybody was really happy with getting real-time feedback instead of waiting until the end of the month and being able to make changes in real time that would allow them to meet those metrics.
So my recollection is that you never got everybody on board, that there was always a holdout contingent, and that at one point you flipped the switch.
We did ultimately have one major holdout and had to make a change to in order to get everybody else to buy in, and that was tough. It was very difficult for us, but ultimately the changes that we implemented created such a better system for everybody involved, and we tried to take in everybody's feedback. We tried to share data points and information with everyone, but ultimately one day we did just have to pull the lever and say this is the direction that we're going now.
It was a bold move.
It was. It was difficult.
But as I recall, the skeptics, we'll call them the skeptics, not the holists, but the skeptics became converts after seeing the bulk of the data. I think part of that was that you tied discretionary compensation to the Prosodica data.
Yes.
And the thing was, from an outsider, I always expected that it was hard to not know what your discretionary comp would be until the end of the month when you got your review. But with daily data, near real-time data, you kind of knew how you were trending. That just had to feel better.
Yeah, and that's a great point. In the old way of doing things, because there was such a time constraint on how many call monitors a QA analyst can do per day. It was sometimes a week into the new month before a specialist had their QA data for the prior month. And your 6 calls that have been scored, you don't know what those are. So that's 25 to 35% of your bonus that is up in the air, that you don't know if you achieved it or not. And now with getting daily data, we are able to feed that data into a scorecard, and our agents have access to their scorecards that update every day, and they can see what their monthly specialist achievement score is. They can, and then there's actionable things that they can do to drive that higher and ultimately increase what their monthly bonus is going to be.
In a way, that sort of changes the mindset from I'm going to perform and not know how I'm going to do, but at the end of the month, I might not achieve my whole bonus, to every day I can work to achieving a higher bonus.
Right.
It's like a very different mindset. Let's flip to the other side of it, so the guest interaction. So what did Prasadica help you understand about your guest interactions that you couldn't before?
I think some of the things that we learned about our guest interactions that we didn't have insights into before is there were direct correlations between the overall customer satisfaction scores, the engagement scores, and the experience scores, and some of the metrics that we were regularly measuring with our call center agents. So we were able to see that, AHT is a common call center metric, and we could see by client at what point in the duration of a call did the guest experience and guest engagement just fall off a cliff. Like it was very clear that after X number of seconds, your total guest experience is going to tank. And we were also able to correlate, like I've mentioned before, we could correlate the guest engagement against the dollar spend that we had. And so we were really able to take, a much broader set of data of individual data points and draw some of those correlations against our traditional call center metrics. And that really helped us to set different targets for our agents as far as, handle time targets. It helped us to coach our agents on how they interacted with the guests to be able to maximize overall, sales and things of that nature. It was really helpful. One of the other, something that we never even would have considered. If you recall, early on in our relationship, we did a study where we put our team head to head against one of our clients' teams.
Oh, right.
And we were able to show our client that our specialists were able to achieve, I want to say it was about a 20% higher guest experience measure than their internal team was able to do. And that became one of our biggest selling points for future business as well. It was really interesting to see it and to have something quantifiable that we could show people.
Yeah, that was, I recall that. That was pretty amazing that we were able to take something that was ostensibly designed to help improve your performance and actually lever that as a sales tool for your business. It just goes to show that your clients, your restaurant concepts care about the guest experience.
Absolutely.
Having been able to measure it was a game changer for them. Did Prasadica in any way change how you think about the role of the specialist in the guest interaction?
It did. We've always been a really guest-centric organization. Providing excellent customer service has been one of our pillars since we began. And, as time evolved, we, like many other companies, have introduced AI to our suite of product offerings. And a lot of our calls begin with AI today. And so the calls that our call center agents are getting are calls from people who don't want to interact with the AI or ran into a roadblock with the AI and ultimately were transferred to an agent. And so it's especially important for us to be able to provide a stellar experience for those customers, because they're people who, not necessarily in every case are upset about something, but they're people that chose to talk to a person. And so, we've put such a heavy focus on driving the experience for those people. It's allowed us to change some of our KPIs and some of our measures to really focus on that customer engagement. And it's especially important to our clients, knowing that while we're backstopping these AI calls with human agents, that those human agents are able to provide the human experience to the customers that really want that particular experience.
So Aaron, have there been moments where the data from Prosodica has inspired you to a completely new innovation or approach?
It did. One of the things that the Prosodica data really helped us to realize that we needed was some type of analysis of our AI calls to determine at what point, when do we need to say this isn't working and transfer a call to a human. And our team ended up developing an algorithm that we called batting average. And when your batting average reached a certain threshold, based off the way that you were talking to our bot, we knew that whether you knew it or not, you were one of those customers that really wanted to talk to a person. And so we would just throw the brakes on everything and we would say, let me get a team member to help you out. And at that point, we would transfer the call to a call center agent and allow the call center agent to take over that interaction and provide the experience that the guest was looking for. And it's worked out really well. It's something that our customers really enjoy that we're thinking about. And
That's fantastic. Let's look toward the future for a second. So if you imagine a future for your contact center operations, what role do you see Prosodica playing going forward? I mean, you're doing significantly more automation as we go. So how's the role of a tool that's listening to a human interaction really evolve?
So the way that I've kind of thought about this, AI is a big part of everything now. Online interactions, AI interactions, those aren't going to go away. Those aren't going to change. And so it's just going to become more and more prevalent where there are going to be customers that don't want the AI. They don't want the online interaction. They want to pick up the phone and they want to be able to talk to a human on the other end. And so we just have to be able to continue to adapt to cater to that group of people. I mean, what I'd love to be able to see 5 years down the road is, gamification and real-time analysis where, if our agent has a widget on their desktop or whatever a desktop looks like 5 years from now, who knows? Maybe it's
VR
their
headset
VR headset, their brain implant. But some type of widget that can show them the guest sentiment and analysis in real time and let them make changes that are catered to that particular customer. 5 years from now, maybe we're analyzing things differently and we can suggest, things that they could say to help improve this person's interaction. But I really think that the importance of providing great service gets just magnified as we get into the future and have more prevalent technology that is interacting with our customers, because again, we know that the customers who are talking to our agents are customers who want to talk to an agent and not talk to a robot, no matter how great that robot might be.
So that is very interesting to me. And so we want to be able to create, like if you're the kind of guest that wants to talk to a human being, we want to create the best human interaction possible. But I guess if Prosodica is starting to give hints and guidance, behavioral guidance to that human, does that compromise the authenticity of that human's interaction?
I don't think it does. I think that, Prasadica is giving hints and guidance, but Prasadica is not saying the words to anybody. Having a technology-assisted interaction isn't going to preclude you from having a human interaction. And I think interaction is probably the wrong word. It's a human conversation that you're having at that point, and an interaction is what you're having with the AI. But as long as there's somebody on the other end of the phone, Aunt Mabel can ask how your day is going and how the weather is and Colorado Springs today. That's the type of thing that those customers are looking for, in my opinion.
That's excellent. So, over the course of your journey with Prasadica, what have you learned as a leader?
The Prasadica implementation was a lot of fun. That was one of my first major projects that I championed across the organization, and I think, some of the things that I learned throughout that was that it was really important early on to make sure that we had the buy-in from the other leaders in the organization, really by helping them to understand that this is going to improve service, improve customer satisfaction, improve guest satisfaction, and ultimately save us money as we're implementing it. But then the flip side to that was getting the buy-in from the ground up. It was really easy to get the leadership buy-in, but I learned a lot about implementing a brand new technology to replace a very human-oriented process early on, and it was really important throughout the whole process to have great vendor relationships as well. Working with the Prasadica team really helped us to tailor the message to our internal partners, and just really help push it over the finish line.
Yeah, it's been a great near 10-year journey, and I've been so pleased to be a part of it as your business has grown and matured, and your technology has gotten better, and our technology has gotten better. So I'm really glad that you've allowed us to join you on that part of the journey. As a final question, I'm going to ask you this one. It's a tougher. If you had to describe what Prasadica has done for your organization in a single metaphor, what would that be?
So that's not tough at all. So introducing Prasadica to the organization was like when you make a transition from a Schwinn bicycle to a Harley. Nice. The Schwinn is going to get you where you need to go. It's going to take a while, but it's going to do the job. The Harley's bigger, it's stronger, it's going to get you there faster, it's going to give you the opportunity to see more along the journey. If you want to see more along the journey, it's a whole lot more fun.
That's outstanding. Well, I've really enjoyed some time to talk to you and obviously to visit with you, Aaron. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and for participating in this interview.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you for coming to see me and being such a great partner for the last decade.
Oh, it's been my pleasure entirely. Thanks.